Hello, my name is Creed and welcome to Writer's Blockbuster. Sam Raimi's Evil Dead is one of the best horror films of all time, and as great movies often do, it got a remake. The remake takes a few things from the original, but it's far from a copy-paste movie. It tells a unique story, amping up the horror and gore, and separating itself from the original Evil Dead almost entirely. There will be spoilers ahead, so you've been warned, and if you enjoy horror movie breakdowns, then subscribe so that you don't miss out on the next one. We open to see a girl wandering in the woods. She seems injured as we see blood on her face and she's limping heavily. She hides behind a tree when a man suddenly appears and places a bag over her head. Another man walks up and knocks the girl out. When she comes to, the girl is chained to a pillar and an old lady is chanting at her. When the hood is removed, the girl is surprised to see her dad standing there. He says that the strangers that surrounded them are here to help, and when she asks after her mom, the father reveals that she had killed her earlier. He says he's sorry, but pours a bottle of gasoline over her head. The girl pleads at first, but as the dad lights a match, she changes.
I will rip your soul out, Daddy.
The girl ignites and screams before the father shoots her and ends her misery. We then cut to sometime in the future. 5 friends gather at a cabin owned by the family of David and his sister Mia. David has brought his girlfriend Natalie, and we're introduced to Olivia and Eric. David meets Mia in the back of the cabin, and they have an uncomfortably flirty relationship.
Oh, you look beautiful, as always.
Hello, darling! David gives Mia a gift necklace made of a special kind of wood that helps ward against evil, and then we meet the adorable dog named Grandpa. It's such a good name. They all meet out front, and we learn the reason for them all gathering in this cabin is to help Mia detox. She pours what remains of her drugs into a well, and they enter the cabin, but notice that the lock was broken.
Looks like someone broke in.
Mia and David talk about their mother. She recently died, and David had just started a new job, so he was unable to spend much time with her in her final days. Mia shares a memory of an old lullaby, but David wants to shut down the conversation, as Mia doesn't need sad memories in her head while detoxing. A bit later, Olivia tells David that they had already tried a detox with Mia a little while ago.
Took the same dramatic vow of sobriety before chucking her dope down the toilet.
She lasted 8 hours and quit.
After the attempt, Mia went on a binge and OD'd, officially dying for a matter of minutes. They say that they can't let Mia quit this time, but David says that he came to protect Mia, and if she asks to leave, then he will take her where she wants to go. Mia's detox worsens through the night, but Olivia is a nurse and has a few medications to help take the brunt of it. Mia is constantly complaining about an odd smell, and Grandpa, the cute little grandpa, good boy, little smoochins, digs at a rug and reveals a trap door.
Oh, is that blood?
Yeah, man, that's blood, but it gets even worse as Eric and David explore the unknown basement. They find the room that we saw in the intro, complete with dozens of dead cats hanging from the ceiling. While wondering what happened, they discover a wrapped book and a shotgun and bring them up to the others.
You shouldn't have touched anything from that basement.
Eric is curious about the bound book and uncovers it to reveal that it's the Necronomicon itself. As he flips through the pages, he sees all kinds of odd drawings and warnings telling him to leave the book alone, but Eric is curious, so ain't nothing stopping him, you know? One etching catches him, telling him not to say the name of a certain demon, and Eric immediately reads it aloud, saying it, causing something to awaken in the woods, and seemingly attached to Mia, who's pacing outside in the rain. She rushes inside and says that she's gotta get out of here. The others say that they won't take her back and she needs to stick it out, and even David says that she should give it a little bit more time. Mia rushes back into her room, but sneaks out of the window and steals one of the cars. She zooms through the woods, but sees someone in the middle of the path, and she swerves and crashes into a pond. She swims out of her car, but sees that same figure emerge from the water right behind her. She then runs and trips into some brambles. The thorny branches seem to come to life, wrapping around her ankles and neck and holding her until the stranger catches up. It opens its mouth and spits out some black goop that enters into Mia through means that need not be discussed, alright? The others find her a few minutes later, leaning up against a tree and talking crazy. They take her back to the cabin and discuss what to do next.
Okay, I'm giving her the exact same treatment she would get at a hospital.
Yeah, great job, Olivia. You're killing it. Mia pleads to David to get her out of here, and her face, mixed with the way that she says these lines, gave me the chills. It was really freaky and I thought pretty well done. Mia says that she's seeing someone, and the cabin is no longer safe, but David leaves saying that it's all in her head and she'll feel better tomorrow. That night, David is burying the dead cats, but notices a trail of blood on the ground. Following it, he sees a tunnel leading beneath the shed, with Grandpa laying inside. It's a bad movie. I hate this movie. There's a bloody hammer on the floor, and David stomps inside to confront Mia about what just happened. Mia is in the shower, but when they break the door down, they find that she had turned the water all the way up, and it's now burning her skin. They get Mia into the car and they try to get her to the hospital, but Eric runs to the book, remembering that demons can cause a person to burn themselves with boiling water. David is forced to turn around when he sees that the rain has caused the river to flood and block their only path back to civilization. Olivia gets Mia a sedative to help with the pain, but as the rest of the group is discussing what to do, Mia then stumbles into the room, dragging the shotgun behind her. She slowly raises it and shoots, nailing David in the shoulder. The door then bursts open, and Mia screams, but multiple voices come out of her mouth and she says that there's no way out for any of them.
You are all going to die tonight.
Mia then jumps onto Olivia and vomits into her open mouth. And it's here that I've decided that every time something a little bit too gross happens, Dino will replace it with rainbows. So say thank you to Dino in the comments below for saving us all from having to see the secondhand vomit nightmare. Ugh. Olivia throws Mia into the basement, but she continues to pound on the door despite having the sedative in her system. Olivia says that she has more sedative and runs off to get a needle. While in the bathroom, she cleans off her face a bit, but then her reflection in the mirror is all cut up and the glass suddenly shatters. As she tries to leave, she unnaturally stops and just begins to twitch. She also pees herself, but you'll never know that because all I see is rainbows. Eric goes in to check on Olivia and finds her crouched in the corner, cutting up her own face. As he backs away, the door closes and locks him in. Olivia then jumps on top of him and stabs him with a piece of glass before stabbing him multiple times with a needle. He's able to kick her off and then bashes her brains out with a broken piece of zinc. David rushes in and sees the carnage.
She's trying to kill me.
As they are patching up Eric, he says that Olivia was likely possessed due to a passage that he read from the strange book. He says that he released something evil, and he's to blame for what's going on. Natalie runs to grab Eric some water, but since she's alone in the cabin, things have to go wrong. While her back is turned, Mia escapes. Natalie runs for the front door, but she stops when she hears Mia call out. For some strange reason, she wanders closer to the trapdoor and begins to descend to see what's going on and to check on Mia. Mia's voice changes again, and Natalie runs back up, but the stairs break and she's dragged into the basement.
I can smell your filthy soul.
Mia bites Natalie's hand and then rushes forward and plants a bloody kiss right onto her. David opens the trapdoor and saves Natalie, but Mia shouts that she is no longer Mia and David's sister is being tortured in hell. Eric then stumbles in with a canister of gasoline. He tries to burn the Necronomicon, but finds that the fire is having no effect. David finally asks what's going on, and Eric explains that the book tells of a demon that will need to devour 5 souls in order for its final abomination to rise into the world of the living. He says that the demon is attached to Mia, and finds that the only way to save the world will be to kill her. Of course, since Natalie is alone again, something's got to go wrong, right? She washes her hand, but begins to freak out as it becomes possessed.
Give me back my hand.
Mia chants at her from the trapdoor, but Natalie sees a way out. She grabs the turkey carver laying next to her and decides to make Bruce Campbell proud and chop off her naughty limb. David and Eric do their best to patch up Natalie, but she's gone into shock and will likely die soon. Eric begins to read some possible solutions from the Necronomicon and finds that the only way to get rid of a demon is to cleanse the possessed person via a live burial, bodily dismemberment, or purification by fire. David is still worried that Mia is just going crazy and not possessed, and we learn that his mother went crazy and eventually died while in a mental hospital. Eric, of course, says that he's delusional because Olivia and Natalie have also gone crazy, so it's not something that's just in Mia's head. But while he's talking, Natalie wakes up behind him and begins to fire at them with a nail gun.
Nice shot!
Both Eric and David are shot multiple times with nails, and while David is crawling to the shotgun, Natalie begins to wail on him with a crowbar. Eric shoots at her with the now dropped nail gun to get her attention.
Wanna play, little man?
And while Natalie is now beating Eric with the crowbar, David shoots off her remaining arm with the shotgun. She crawls over to David, but ends up dying in his lap. David helps Eric outside and decides that it's time to cleanse these demons. He burns Olivia's body, grabs a chainsaw and fully dismembers Natalie's corpse, and then douses the cabin in gasoline. Just as he's about to ignite the cabin, Mia begins to sing, which makes David realize that he can't kill his sister. He decides to try the route of live burial instead, and gets some gadgets ready before trekking down to the basement. He can't seem to find Mia anywhere, so he has to check the dead cat room, which is now also fully flooded. While his back is turned, Mia charges at him and begins to slash at him with a knife. David falls and she holds him under the water, and moments before he drowns, the true hero of this movie, Eric, shows up and smacks her with a pipe. Unfortunately, we see that Eric was stabbed by Mia, and he slumps over, mumbling a few words before he dies.
I missed you, man.
David then begins with the burial. He places a bag over Mia's head to hopefully protect her, but while he's shoveling dirt over her, Mia wakes up. She screams that she can't breathe, but David continues to shovel until she is fully covered. Everything suddenly goes quiet, and David rushes to unbury Mia. She's definitely dead, but David made a do-it-yourself defibrillator and shocks his sister, but it doesn't seem to work. Except that I guess it does, only when his back is turned. Mia and David hug, and everything seems to be hunky-dory. David heads into the cabin to get the car keys, but surprise, Eric is back and he's looking bad. He stabs David in the neck. Mia runs in to help, but David throws her out and locks the door. David raises the shotgun and shoots the gas canister, lighting up the cabin and ending Eric and himself in the process. Mia reaches down and picks up her dropped necklace, but then it begins to rain again. Only this time, it's rain and blood, hallelujah. David was soul number 5, so now the demon's abomination rises from the ground. Each time it touches Mia, it burns her skin, so she runs. She ends up crawling into the tunnel that we saw Grandpa use earlier. She exits into the shed and grabs a chainsaw, but has to crawl behind the wall before she can start it. The abomination begins to stab through that wall with a machete, but Mia sees that the outer wall is weak and she punches a hole through it to escape. Man, people in horror movies really love living. I gotta say, I would have given up like 30 times by now. I'd definitely just be like dead in the basement with the cats, man. Mia starts the chainsaw and cuts off the abomination's legs, but it tips the Jeep over and traps her hand underneath. Mia has no choice and pulls her hand off to escape. Then, chainsaw in hand, she dismembers the abomination.
I will feast on your soul.
Feast on this mother...
The demon spawn melts back into the ground, and then the blood rain stops, and Mia has conquered the Evil Dead. She hobbles off, but we're not quite done yet. In a mid-credit scene, we see Mia get picked up by a kind stranger who rushes her to the hospital. Her eyes open, showing us that she's not done yet. And neither is this movie, because there's one final after-credit scene. Because, movies gotta have one nowadays, thanks Marvel. We get one final shot, and it's the best in the entire film.
Groovy.
And that is where this movie ends. The more that I think about this movie, the more that I think it's actually kind of a decent remake. Like, it doesn't have a lot in common with the original, don't get me wrong, but it takes the themes of what the original did and it pushes boundaries of horror, giving us over-the-top gore and language and violence, just like the original pushed boundaries when it came out. My personal bias really wanted a continuation of Ash's story, or really just, honestly, to see Bruce Campbell as Ash in any capacity, like in this movie. But once I push past that bias, I think I have to admit that this movie's grown on me, at least a bit. I did find myself getting a bit squeamish at a few points, and there were one or two scares that genuinely got me, which is pretty tough for horror movies to do these days, because I'm a big brave boy. But Evil Dead took me off guard in a few places. I will say I thought it was pretty lame how they had to separate characters every time something scary happened, especially since they were dealing with something that could easily have taken on multiple people if it wanted to. And there was a lot of language in this, which I actually found to be a bit comical at times, where I think it was going for like uncomfortable horror, kind of feels, but I don't know if that's just me. That might be just me. So I think it could have used a little bit of tweaking in the language department. The advice that I was given before watching this was to disregard it as a remake and just approach it as another random movie, and I think that's the way to watch this film. People who hate it were probably hoping for another groovy Bruce masterpiece, and while I am somewhat in that boat, I think that there is a decent film to be enjoyed here if you put aside that expectation. Anyway, if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like and subscribe, and if you'd like to see the other Evil Dead films, then check out the Evil Dead playlist. But yeah, if you need me before the next one, I'll probably still be pinned beneath the Jeep, because there's no way I'm pulling my hand off, man. There's just no way. Bye-bye.